Hey everyone, Shabby here, and welcome back to another video. I'm going to be talking about the Shakeup in WWE, mainly just about Smackdown in this video. Now, I've already done the Raw video, so if you want to check that out, be sure to check out the channel. You'll find that one over there. Right, so Smackdown had a pretty good time during the Shakeup. However, of course, losing guys like AJ Styles and Andrade, I feel like are big losses. However, they did gain Finn Balor, which I think is going to be a massive addition to the roster. Of course, the Intercontinental Champion. That was pretty nice to see that happen. Of course, that does mean that Samoa Joe will probably change. Well, that wasn't confirmed. However, I think it was supposed to happen, but Joe came down pretty ill during Raw last week and was unable to do his segment. But I'm pretty sure Joe will move to Raw this week. But Finn Balor is a great addition to the Smackdown roster. Next up then, we had, well, they went big, didn't they, on the women's roster, I think. There was rumours that the WrestleMania match between Asuka was taken off the card because Vince didn't feel like there was enough talent in the women's roster to give Asuka a good match, especially since they put Charlotte and Becky into the Raw Women's Championship match against Ronda. So they went hard in improving the women's roster on SmackDown, adding Ember Moon, which I think is a good thing for Ember Moon because she sort of disappeared a bit on Raw. There was no real matches being given for her. They were really focusing on the Bayley and Sasha situation, that sort of stuff. But Ember Moon moving to SmackDown, nice fresh start for her. Hopefully we can see her do well. Also Bayley, again, she's broken away from Sasha, which I think is a good thing now. Sasha looks like she's staying on Raw, if she stays with the company, that is. And Bayley moving to SmackDown, I think is a really good place for Bayley. I think she needs to get away from Sasha because it's just too much. It's a bit like Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. If they're on the same show, they're always going to be intermingled because there's just always that history there. So getting them apart, I think, is a great thing. We also saw Liv Morgan move across, which is a bit interesting. It means they split up the Riot Squad, which is a bit disappointing. I feel like when they do bring in the Women's Tag Team Championships like they've got now, splitting women's tag teams and stables is probably not the best idea. Of course, they split Becky and Sasha as well. I mean, the Riot Squad will still probably go on with Ruby Riott and the other one. I've forgotten her name now. That's pretty bad, isn't it? Sarah Logan. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed they've done that. Also added Mickie James, which I think is a good, strong, experienced name to try and help some of these younger stars out. So I think that's a really good move as well. And finally, they brought in Kairi Sane, which I was very happy about. But they brought her in as part of a tag team of Asuka, which is going to be dominant. Really, really dominant, don't get me wrong. However, I'm not quite sure. I would prefer to have seen Kairi Sane and Io Shirai. Now, I'm not quite sure they're going to do that because they probably want Shirai in NXT to continue working alongside Shayna Baszler for that Women's Championship for a bit because they obviously don't really think they've got enough talent there yet ready for the Women's NXT division. They need to move the likes of Toni Storm and that sort of stuff into the normal NXT roster, I think. But yeah, it's a bit... I hope it goes really well, don't get me wrong, but we saw as part of the Fatal 4-Way at NXT TakeOver that Kairi Sane and Io Shirai work immensely well together. They're so well in time. They work really, really smoothly together, and I really thought that was what was going to happen on the main roster. But Kairi Sane and Asuka, hopefully they're going to have the same sort of impact, which they should do because they're both fantastic wrestlers, but I'm interested to see how that pans out. But it looks like Kairi Sane and Asuka are going to be very much restrained to the Women's Tag Team division to start off with. And we'll probably fight off towards a championship match against the Iconics pretty soon. Next up then, we saw Lars Sullivan, who apparently is officially part of SmackDown, even though he appeared on both shows. Which I think is good. I think he's quite underrated. I think, obviously, he's had his issues, but was supposed to debut around about Royal Rumble time. But it looks like he's getting a good, dominant showing. And I think they can really make a good, dominant wrestler out of him. He's good. I like him. He's quite good on the mic, deceivingly good on the mic. People don't really realise how good he is. And he's not just a great athletic wrestler as well. He's also a very intelligent man. So it'd be interesting to see how that pans out. Next up, Buddy Murphy. Again, it weakens 205 Live's roster quite a bit. But it allows other people in 205 Live to step up and showcase what they can do. And again, hopefully, Buddy Murphy is going to get an ability to show what he can do a bit higher up the card. I mean, just like Cedric Alexander on Raw. He can't just be used as a jobber or just disappear. He needs to be utilised well to showcase how good he actually is. We have Elias, so I quite liked Elias's introduction. Vince was talking about bringing the biggest name they've ever brought to SmackDown Live, and everyone's going, he's just going to bring Roman Reigns out, it's going to get booed, it's going to be stupid. And then he brought out Elias, which I thought was a real nice little touch. I thought, obviously, they're playing on the story of Elias being a big music star as well, and I thought that was pretty cool to see. So I like the fact that Elias is on SmackDown. I do want to see him do more in the ring, though. I mean, his character's great, what he does is great, but he seems to just have the same segment every week of just playing his guitar, getting interrupted, and having an impromptu little match. The next week he does exactly the same thing. So hopefully we can see some more from Elias and maybe become an Intercontinental Champion, maybe? We also saw, of course, Heavy Machinery. This was announced after SmackDown had finished, which was greatly needed because the SmackDown Tag Team Division's not great at this point in time. And, of course, they also lost the Usos, so they need another strong tag team. That gives them the New Day, Heavy Machinery. Of course, they've got the Hardys as well. And they've also got Gallows and Anderson, don't forget, so they need to bring them out the woodwork and utilise them a bit better as well. So, yeah, they've got quite a few decent tag teams now. They just need to utilise them better, I think. Also, Apollo Crews joined the SmackDown Live roster, which I really like. I'm a big fan of Apollo Crews. Met him a few times. Really nice guy as well. And I feel like he'll be a perfect guy to go against Finn Balor for the Intercontinental Championship. Chad Gable. They broke up the Gable and Rude tag team, which was interesting. Not quite sure what the plan is for Chad Gable. We should see him in some singles competition, see how good he actually is. I think he is pretty good. I mean, we saw him in that match against Kurt Angle not long ago, and that was a fantastic match. So hopefully we can see some more good stuff from Chad Gable. I'd like to see him re-team up with Shelton Benjamin, to be honest, and make a proper sort of tag team there. But interesting to see what happens with that. And last but not least, of course, we saw Roman Reigns, who they're still so desperate to put over. They had him attack Vince McMahon because that's how they put people over these days. It's an interesting one. It might be led by Fox wanted a big star name to SmackDown to try and get the TV ratings. So maybe that was the idea behind the Roman Reigns move. It freshens him up, and again, we needed to get Reigns away from Seth because if we don't, we're always just going to have this Reigns and Seth link up all the time. So having them separate, I think, is really good. And it does freshen things up, and it allows Reigns to face off against a whole nother group of opponents, and maybe he can try and get himself over a bit better. I'm still not a massive Reigns fan. I'm not that into how he is in the ring, to be honest. The Superman punch for me is awful. I hate that move so much. So hopefully we can see something better from him in the future. But yeah, it's I think all in all, SmackDown's done incredibly well. I think their women's division has been greatly strengthened. I mean, stupidly greatly strengthened. They've kept Charlotte as well. They've got Carmella. So I think SmackDown's women's division is a hell of a lot stronger than Raw's, which is why I expect Becky to stay on Raw. Even if she loses the championships, I think she'll stay on Raw now. Nikki Cross did not get linked with any roster. However, I feel like she probably will be SmackDown as well because she's married to Killian Dane, and Killian Dane is still classed as being on the SmackDown roster, even though they moved Eric Young across to Raw, which sort of does split Sanity up. So hopefully we can see Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf do something. It'd be nice to see that come back as a tag team, the pair of them, and do well, but I'm not quite sure that's going to happen. We might see Killian Dane and Alexander Wolf drop back into NXT, but the worrying thing is that of all the people that did come up then in, was it February? They did this whole thing where they just brought loads of people up. Nikki Cross was the only one who's not been linked to a roster, so I'm not quite sure what the plan is there. Whether she drops back into NXT as well, I'm not sure, but I want to see him do something with her, because she is quite an interesting little group, and it should have been the stable. They should have had that stable. They should have kept Sanity, and they should have done something with Sanity, because they are a decent stable, and they had a decent following, and they did so well in NXT, so why not? And yeah, I think that's all I've got to say, really. I say Becky currently on both brands at this point in time, but I think we'll stick with Raw long term. Nikki Cross, not linked with any roster. Women's division greatly strengthened, and of course, what happens now to Sanity? I want to see some good stuff from SmackDown. Again, I love the shake-up. It really does freshen things up. We've got Money in the Bank coming up as well, which should be interesting. As long as Roman Reigns doesn't win Money in the Bank. What I want to happen is for Roman Reigns not to win the championship straight away. I know it's going to happen eventually, but he doesn't need to win it straight away. Allow him to stay away. I would like to see Roman Reigns have a legitimate feud, an equal feud, against Lars Sullivan. I think that'd be a nice little thing. I'll have to wait and see what happens on that one. So that's the end of this video. Hope you have enjoyed it. Of course, if you have, then please do hit a like and, of course, subscribe if you want to see some more. I've been Shabby Gamer. Thank you much for watching. Don't forget to check out the Raw Shakeup video as well. And I'll see you all very, very soon for our next video on the channel. That was a bad ending, wasn't it? Ugh.
The ones you do.